Enoch, chapter 20. These are the names of the angels who watch. With this announcement, we're about to receive a great deal of information. First and foremost, knowing what an angel's name is not the same as worshiping the angels. Many believers seem to misunderstand that and become uneasy when an angel's name is mentioned. Just as we name our children at birth without it being about worship, naming an angel is simply an identification of their distinctive qualities. The nature of an angel is reflected in its name, which is why when God reveals it, the name becomes both relevant and significant. In my books on the 7 mountains, I have included charts identifying 7 archangels for the 7 mountains, and these are the very same names, although there is some discrepancy due to different versions of Enoch offering different names. One common thread is that all archangels' names end in El, which means God in Hebrew, as their ultimate purpose is to reflect a key aspect of who God is. Uriel, one of the holy archangels, stretches over the world and stands above the great chasm, Tartarus. Uriel means flame of God. I identify him as the archangel of the mountain of government. I believe him to be the angel of Revelation 10, verse 1. Raphael, one of the holy archangels, is a covering for the spirits of man. Raphael means healing is from God. I identify him as the archangel of the mountain of family. Raguel, or Raziel, one of the holy angels, avenges amongst the intellectual luminaries. Raguel means friend of God. In my books on the 7 mountains, I've instead justified him as Raziel, which means secrets of God. I believe they are one and the same, as Scripture tells us that God shares his secrets with his friends. See Psalms 25, verse 14, and Amos, chapter 3, verse 7. I identify him as the archangel of the mountain of education in the New Testament. Paul encapsulates the wisdom that Raguel or Raziel brings, which stands in stark contrast to the intellectual luminaries. For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. Brothers and sisters, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 25 through 27. Michael, one of the holy archangels, is over the firstborn Israel, or best part of mankind, and over chaos. Michael means who is like God. I identify him as the archangel of the mountain of religion. He is over Israel and the church. Zerechiel, or Saraquel, one of the holy archangels, is over the spirits who sin in the spirit of mammon. Zerechiel means command of God, as does Saraquiel. I identify him as the archangel of the mountain of economy. Gabriel, one of the holy archangels, is over paradise and the seraphim and the cherubim. Gabriel means messenger of God. I identify him as the archangel of the mountain of Media. Ramiel, or Jehudiel, one of the holy archangels, is over those who rise. Ramiel means mercy of God. Jehudiel means glory goes to God. I identify him as the archangel of the mountain of celebration, of arts and entertainment. Enoch chapter 21. Enoch is shown the lake of fire, the prison of the fallen angels. I proceeded to where things were chaotic and void, and I saw there something horrible. I saw neither a heaven above nor a firmly founded earth, but a place chaotic and horrible. And there I saw 7 stars of heaven bound together in it, like great mountains, with burning fire. This part is a repetition of Enoch, chapter 18, verse 13 through 16, perhaps included to highlight Enoch's reaction. Then I said, for what sin are they bound, and why have they been cast here? Then said Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and was chief over them, Enoch, why do you ask, and why are you eager for the truth? We will encounter this a few times, where an angel finds it strange that Enoch is curious and desires deeper answers. Is this a human characteristic that is not noted in angels? Are we more curious by the fact of our nature being in God's image? I think so. These are the number of the stars of heaven, which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and are bound here until 10,000 years. The time entailed by their sins are consummated. Once again, the 10,000 compared to the 1,000 in Jude 1, verse 6. This could be meaningful, or it might simply be another way of expressing the same concept using a symbolic or a full number. I went out from there to another place, which was still more horrible than the former, and I saw a terrible thing, a great fire there, which burned and blazed, and the place was cleft as far as the abyss, full of great falling columns of fire. Neither its width or breadth could I see, nor could I see its source. Then I said, I am afraid of this place, and cannot stand to look at it. Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said to me, Enoch, why are you so afraid? I answered, because of this fearful place, and because of the spectacle of the pain. And he said to me, this place is the prison of the angels, and here they will be imprisoned forever. By this last statement, we know for sure that what Enoch has been seeing is the lake of fire. Enoch 22. Enoch was shown where souls were sent unto the great judgment. I went to another place, and he showed me a mountain of hard rock. There was in it 4 hollow places, deep and wide and very smooth. How smooth are the hollow places, and deep and dark to look at. Then Raphael, one of the holy angels who was with me, spoke and said to me, these holy places have been created for this very purpose, that the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble therein, that all the souls of the children should be brought here. These places were made to receive them until the day that their judgment will come upon them. I saw the spirit of a dead man, and his voice went out to heaven and appealed for justice. See Luke 16, verse 24 and 25 for another example. And I asked Raphael, the angel who was with me, whose voice is that spirit that is appealing to heaven for justice? He answered me, saying, this is the spirit which went out from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew. And he makes his suit against him until his seed is destroyed from the face of the earth, and his seed has been removed from among the children of men. This is really thought-provoking. Did Cain, by the nature of his sin, the first murderer on earth, defile his own bloodline to such an extent that Abel's petition was justified? Or is the text simply pointing out what Abel did without making a judgment on whether it was right or wrong that Abel requested this total judgment? Then I asked regarding all of the hollow places, why is one separate from the other? He answered and said to me, these 3 have been made that the spirits of the dead might be separated. Divisions have been made for the spirits of the righteous, in which there is the bright spring of water, and such has been made for sinners when they die and are buried in the earth, and judgment has not been executed on them in their lifetime. Here their spirits shall be confined in great pain, in isolation, until the day of judgment, in pain, in punishment and torment of those who curse forever. And so there is retribution for their spirits. There he shall bind them forever. And such a division has been made for the spirits of those who make their suit, who make disclosures concerning how they were murdered, when they were slain in the days of the sinners. And this place has been made for the spirits of men who are not righteous, but are sinners who rejected God. And they will be companions of the lawless ones. But their spirits shall not be punished in the day of judgment, because they will not be raised to leave from here. Then I blessed the Lord of glory and said, Blessed be my Lord, the Lord of righteousness, who rules forever. The entirety of this chapter has to do with what in the Old Testament is referred to as Sheol. It was a place where the righteous and unrighteous were in a holding place until the judgment. This, of course, all changed when Jesus went to the cross, and through his blood changed the equation for all who would believe in him. Enoch chapter 23. Enoch was shown the flowing fire that expels fallen angels from heaven. From here I went to another place, to the west of the ends of the earth. I saw a burning fire which ran without resting and never stopped from its course day or night, but flowed always in the same way. I asked, saying, What is this that never rests? Then Raguel, one of the holy angels, who was with me, answered me, This course of fire which you have seen is the fire in the west, and is the fire which expels all the luminaries of earth. Enoch 24. Enoch was shown the tree of life in the middle of the 7 mountains. From here I went to another place on the earth, and he showed me a mountain range which burned day and night. I went beyond it and saw 7 magnificent mountains, all differing from each other, and their stones were magnificent and beautiful, and their form was glorious. 3 towards the east, one founded on the other, and 3 towards the south, one on the other, with deep, rough ravines, no one of which joined with any other. And the 7th mountain was in the midst of these, and it was higher than them, resembling the seat of a throne. We are getting into some repeated descriptions of the 7 mountains of chapter 18. And fragrant trees encircled the throne, and among them was a tree such as I have never smelled, nor was any among them, or were others like it. It had a fragrance beyond all fragrance, and its leaves and blooms and wood would not ever wither. We're about to find out that the tree of life is in the middle of the 7 mountains. What does this mean? It signifies that the most desirable place of intimacy, presence, and glory from the Garden of Eden is found as we embrace and actively participate in the 7 mountain mandate, bringing the kingdom into every area of society. We are called to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world in very practical Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 ways. The fragrant trees mentioned in Enoch speak to who we are, called to be in every area of culture, offering the best description of the kingdom. The kingdom advances as a fragrance, or we could say as an influence. It doesn't impose on humanity, but it does impose on darkness. Our assignment is to carry an irresistible influence, bringing the presence of God and solutions to the 7 mountains: media, education, government, economy, faith, arts and entertainment, and religion. Note, its fruit is beautiful, and its fruit resembles the dates of a palm. Then I said, how beautiful is this tree, and fragrant, and its leaves are fair, and its blooms are very delightful in appearance. This description is fascinating The tree of life has a fruit that is not the date palm, but it resembles it. Jesus' triumphal entry of Matthew 21 concluded with palm tree leaves being cast at his feet with shouts of Hosanna, Hosanna. Since the date palm is abundant in Jerusalem, it's likely safe to assume that this is the same tree being referenced. Do you see the connection? The seven mountain mandate is Jesus making a triumphant entry into our cities. Then Michael, one of the holy and honored angels who was with me and was their leader, spoke to me. I believe this is another validation of Enoch in his book. Without having read the Bible, he knows by his own revelation that Michael is the leader or chief of the seven archangels. He's also the archangel of the central mountain in the midst of the seven mountains, which corresponds to the mountain of religion. Enoch chapter 25. The fragrant tree of life will be given to the righteous and holy. Michael said to me, Enoch, why do you ask me regarding the fragrance of the tree, and why do you wish to learn the truth? Then I answered him and said, I wish to know about everything, but especially about this tree. I love Enoch's answer to another archangel asking of his inquisitiveness. I wish to know everything. God had called him the scribe of righteousness, and Enoch may have thought to himself, if I'm to report on what I see, then I'm going to ask a lot of questions. Then Enoch says, especially about this tree. This is the tree Adam and Eve had been banned from because they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This was no small matter, and Enoch was deeply familiar with the story. It would be wise for us as well to maintain a deep and ongoing curiosity about the tree of life. Then Michael answered, saying, this high mountain, which you have seen, whose summit is like the throne of God, is his throne, where the holy great one, the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit down when he shall come to visit the earth with goodness. Visit the earth with goodness. We must come into alignment with the eschatology of Enoch. He's already spoken of a day when God creates a day of tribulation and removal for all that is evil on earth. Now God lets us know a day is coming where he intends to visit the earth with goodness. Is that biblical, you may ask? I thought he only comes to visit in judgment. We see once again how faulty eschatology can blind us to God's clear plan as laid out in Scripture. Haggai 2, verse 6 through 7 says, for thus says the Lord of hosts, once more, it is a little while, I will shake heaven and earth, the sea and dry land, and I will shake the nations, and they shall come to the desire of all nations, and I will fill this temple with glory, says the Lord of hosts. Read that again slowly and see that he shakes the nations, not with judgment, but with goodness. God calls himself the desire of all nations. He is who they want, and it is he whom they will get. We, the saints of the Most High, cooperate with his game plan as we embrace being the fragrant trees of his influence in the seven mountains areas of society. As for this fragrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it until the great judgment, when he will take vengeance on all and will bring everything into its completion forever. This connects with Acts, verse 21, whom heaven must receive until the times of restoration of all things, which God has spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began. Notice that Jesus is not to return until the times of restoration of all things. This means he doesn't return in a celebratory way until goodness, as prophesied by all his holy prophets, has taken place. Enoch was the first of the prophets to proclaim a future restoration, and his message must be recovered and restored to prominence. The great judgment refers to the time described in Daniel 7, verse 22, which is already upon us, until the ancient days came, and a judgment was made in favor of the saints of the Most High, and the time came for the saints to possess the kingdom. This ruling is already in effect for us now. It will then be given to the righteous and holy, and its fruit will be fruit for the elect saints. It will be transplanted to the holy place, to the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. Powerful. The tree of life will be made available to the saints who are receiving and thus revealing the kingdom in every mountain of every nation. According to Enoch, the tree of life was transplanted to the temple of the Lord. Paul the apostle says in 1 Corinthians 3, verse 16, do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? This aligns with God's storyline, where his goodness towards the nations begins to grant us unhindered access to the tree of life, whose leaves are for the healing of the nations. See Revelation 22, verse 2. Then they shall rejoice and be glad and enter into the holy place. Its fragrance will be in their bones, and they will live a long life on earth, such as their fathers lived. And in those days, then they shall rejoice and be glad and enter into the holy place. Its fragrance will be in their bones, and they will live a long life on earth, such as their fathers lived. And in their days, there will be no sorrow, pain, torment, or toil. This is an amazing revelation. The saints committed to his narrative for the 7 mountains and the nations will enter into the holy place where the tree of life is, and its fragrance will be in their bones. If we can recover Enoch's narrative and eschatology, we will gain access to spiritual truths and dimensions that have previously been unavailable to us. Fragrance as the bones is way beyond fragrance on the skin. This means it has taken deep root and been understood at a profound level. At this point, we enter into an active back to Eden mode, where even our physical bodies begin to respond, leading us to once again live to 800 or 900 years of age. An inferior eschatology and view of God will cause you to waste away earlier, while superior eschatology and understanding of God will quicken and ignite your mortal body. See Romans 8, verse 11. The last sentence of verse 6 confirms to us we can experientially get back to the days of Eden. This is the revealing of the sons of God that creation groans and travails for, as spoken by Paul in Romans 8, verse 19 through 22. Then I bless the God of glory, the eternal King, who has prepared such things for the righteous and has created them and promised to give them. An important note for this verse, most believers will say, oh yes, I believe this. He's going to wipe away every tear and heaven's going to be awesome. However, what has been described is not about one day in heaven, but one day on earth. Enoch's writings are designed to reconnect us with the incredible things God has determined for and through his sons and daughters on earth. Enoch, chapter 26. Enoch is shown a blessed place in the middle of earth. I went from there to the middle of earth, and I saw a blessed place in which there were trees with branches alive and blooming on a tree that had been cut down. Middle of the earth, this is most likely an early picture of the landscape of Jerusalem. Of course, Enoch would not have to name as it what Enoch would not have its name, as it was King David who gave the city its name. There I saw a holy mountain, and underneath the mountain to the east there was a stream, and it flowed toward the south. I saw towards the east another mountain higher than this, and between them a deep and narrow valley. This deep and narrow valley is likely the valley of Gehenna. Jesus addresses this at least 10 times, sometimes using it as a metaphor for hell. In it also ran a stream underneath the mountains. To the west of it there was another mountain, lower than the former and of small elevation, and a dry, deep valley between them, and another deep and dry valley was at the edge of the 3 mountains. All the valleys were deep and narrow, being formed from the hard rock, and there were no trees planted on them. I was very amazed at the rocks in the valley. I would love to ask Enoch why he was amazed at the rocks in the valley of Gehenna. Did he get a sense of its future history? Was there something physically visible that we don't see now? Were these the rocks Jesus spoke about when he said, "The rocks will cry out," in Luke chapter 19, verse 40? Enoch chapter 27, righteous judgment in the presence of the righteous. Then said I, what is the purpose for this blessed land, which is entirely filled with trees? And what is the purpose of this accursed valley between? First, Enoch noted with awe even the rocks. Now, by the Spirit, he somehow knows that this is a blessed land, while Gehenna is an accursed valley. If nothing else, this serves as part of the ongoing validation of Enoch and his writings, at least in 1 Enoch. Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, replied, this accursed valley is for those who are accursed forever. Here, all the accursed will be gathered together who utter with their lips words against the Lord, not befitting his glory, or say hard things against him. Here they will be gathered together, and here will be their place of judgment. Is this where the watchers were destined for? The language of accursed brings to mind the judgment spoken against the watchers for violating the species line between angel and human. They were also known for their harsh words against God, likely questioning why angels were denied procreation rights, while lowly humans were granted them. It might also add another dimension to 1 Corinthians 15, verse 25. He must reign until he has placed all enemies under his feet. They were literally placed under his feet as he reigned on the cross. However, the next application of this promise is that the God of peace will soon crush Satan under our feet. Romans 16, verse 20. Capitalization added for emphasis. Will there be yet another manifestation of this when he physically rules from Jerusalem? In the last days, there will be the spectacle of righteous judgment on them in the presence of the righteous forever. Here the merciful will bless the Lord of glory, the eternal King. Make sure not to miss the phrase, in the presence of the righteous. God accomplishes all his great works on earth, not by removing the righteous, but in the presence of the righteous. In the days of judgment over the former, they, the righteous, will bless him for the mercy in accordance with which he has assigned them their lot. Then I blessed the Lord of glory, and I extolled his glory and gloriously shouted praise to his glory. It is important to identify and connect with the exuberance of Enoch and how all this plays out. There's to be a closing, majestic showing here on earth of God's triumph over evil with his saints that leaves us unable to find the right words to describe the glory of it all. Enoch 28, water in the wilderness. Then I went towards the east, into the midst of the mountain range in the desert, and I saw a wilderness. It was solitary, full of trees and plants, and water gushed out from above, rushing like a torrent, which flowed towards the northwest. It caused clouds and dew to ascend on every side. Enoch chapter 29, the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh in the desert. Then I went to another place in the desert and approached to the east of this mountain range. There I saw aromatic trees exuding the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh, and the trees also were similar to the almond tree. Though Enoch is not telling us much on why he is telling us things, it is quite possible that this desert is the desert where Jesus fasted 40 days and where he was then dramatically tempted and tested by Satan. The fragrances of frankincense and myrrh were gifts from the Magi at Jesus' birth and have always represented the fragrance of Christ. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless your holy name.